welcome back to the Everything Sparkle Show. With us, we have Shawn Beaty. How are you, Shawn?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
Every time I see you, something big is going on.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but hey, glad to be here though.
Last time, your wife, how is she doing, by the way?
My wife Kelly is doing really well, and she's probably watching right now. Hi, sweetie. And she is. So there's been no progression in her cancer, which is awesome. It's kind of one of those that doesn't go into remission. You just hope and pray that there's no progression. So far there's been no progression, so we're blessed. We're really glad.
Well, one thing I want to point out though is for some reason she looks healthier than the rest of us, and she looks younger than everybody.
She's a beast. Yeah.
How does she look like that when she went through all that?
She's got good genes. Her mom looks very young too. And she does yoga every day, and she walks, 3 to 5 miles every day, and just eats really well, does a ketogenic diet, very strict. So yeah, she takes good care of herself. Are you still doing that too? You're still on the keto? I am. I do what I call the Cheeto, which is most of the time I am. Every now and then I cheat, but I do it in solidarity just to help her. It's easier when you're doing it with someone, kind of thing.
Right.
So
for
yeah.
Sure.
Yep. No, my heart hasn't stopped yet, so I'm good.
How are the puppies? Your new additions to the family.
Yeah, we have an English bulldog, and she had 7 English bulldog puppies, and they're 10 days old. So the first 2 weeks is touch and go. It's 24 hours a day. Like, we're always having to watch them, always having to help feed them, always having to make sure they go to the bathroom. It has been an incredible amount. It's been actually a nice distraction among the coronavirus thing going on. And our kids are home from school, so that was a blessing because they're helping with the puppies.
That is good that they have that now.
We, as much as the coronavirus is terrible, like, that has been a hidden blessing in our life, is that our kids are home and able to help us with it, because it's a lot.
Do you think we're going to have a lot of those blessings as a society? Because right now I feel like we are kind of growing stronger. We are caring about our neighbor. We are a little bit less self-absorbed than we were a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I do. I think if you look for it. Some people will not. Some people will only look at what they lost, if that makes sense, because there will be loss. The mayor talked about it. There's going to be a financial hit. No one really knows how big it's really going to be in the end. It could be really big. It could be something we bounce back from. But if you look at it from eyes of what I had instead of, well, what do I have? Then it's going to be a bad thing. But there are always, whenever there's drastic change, if you'll lean into that change, you can find a lot of good things in it. It does. It makes you stronger in the long run. I was reading a Scottish theologian today named William Barclay, and he talked about how most people never grow as a human in prosperity. They usually grow in a time of trial. And he told the story of Hannibal of Carthage, who was this famed general in the Second Punic War against Rome. North Africa was fighting against Rome, and he had come in all the way across Africa, all the way across Europe. He had controlled the southern part of Italy. He was going to take Rome, and then winter hit, and they stayed in his army stayed in the city of Capua, which is like a really posh city. And they spent winter in Capua, and it ruined them because they were totally living in luxury. And when spring came, their army was so soft when they went to war with Rome, and the Roman army wiped them out. So, like, sometimes trials, like, no pressure, no diamonds, right? You're a fitness girl, right? It doesn't, if there's no resistance, there's no muscle. So that's one of the things I always tell people as we're leaning into this. Yeah, it's not fun.
So everything in life has to be hard? Is that what you're saying, Shawn?
No, not always. There's time for rest, One of the other unintended consequences of this is we live in a society where typically in a family, mom and dad are both working. Kids are in 4 or 5 sports. They're in AP classes. They're doing lessons. They're doing all these things, and we're moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. We are. And this is a forced Sabbath on our lives. Mine too, even. Where I've had to, it was really hectic for a bit, but now it's like, okay, I've just got to stay home and be with my family and, learn to rest,
Right.
which I think a lot of us, we struggle with.
I definitely.
So I think God's rest for us is really a remedy for us trying to take control of everything in the world, if that makes sense, when you just have to rest and trust him. So there are good things that come from it. I don't want to just blow sunshine and rainbows. It's hard right now too.
Did you go through what I had asked the mayor about? Were a lot of people overwhelming you with questions?
Yeah. So in my job, I have to make a lot of decisions, and people, a lot of times they want to know from their pastor, what do I think about what's going on, and what are we going to do, and what should a Christian do, and how should we respond? And that was a little tricky last week. I think we've kind of leaned in, and it feels like it's not changing every day now. There's only one more step, martial law, right?
Right.
At this point. So, yeah, it was hard, but it definitely has eased up. And, I don't have decisions like the mayor makes. He makes decisions that affect a lot of people. For me, I'm just trying to point people's hearts in the right direction so that we can navigate this thing.
So I know it was hard for you because you did not want to close the church. And I remember it was 2 Sundays ago. You're like, we'll always be open unless we were told not to. And then boom.
We were told not to.
Yeah, 2 Sundays later it was like, oh boy, But then we went down. We kind of went down to 250 for that last Sunday. Yeah. The last Sunday we were around, it was like down to the 250 to boom, like 50 or less. And then.
Yeah, that was. It's funny because I did a sermon like two weeks ago. 3 Sundays ago, about why we gather as a church. And for 2,000 years, Christians have gathered to worship on a Sunday, on the Lord's Day. And it was my goal that the church never, ever be closed on a Sunday on the Lord's Day, because that has been important to Christians for that long. So and then they're like, hey, you can't gather in groups of more than 250. And our church is a large church, thousands of people. So I just said, okay, well, we're going to do 10 services. And we'll just spread it out because I said we're not going to close. So we tried doing that. And then right after that, they closed it down to under 50 and then to 10 before the weekend ever hit. So we've been doing online services. And there have been 10 people in the church on a Sunday morning because we've been doing it live. And we have a Spartan tech crew and a worship team. And we've just been pulling it off. And ironically, I think we had more people watching this Sunday than come live.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, it's a captive audience right now, right, people? Some people are watching this right now. Like, you're going to have probably your highest ratings this week because we're all at home on our phones going, what do we do? Oh, I'll watch Sparkle. What's going on? You know what I mean? And that's a good thing, I think. It sucks to be stuck at home, but, in tough times, you've got to innovate. I remember during the 2008 recession, I had friends that were in the mortgage industry, in the real estate industry, and they would tell me, Shawn, I don't even know what to do. I'm just stuck. I go to work, and I know I'm going to get canned, and I don't even know what to do. I just stare at my computer. I can't even return emails. I'm just frozen. And sometimes, we get frozen by that, and you have to just lean in and do something. And when you lean in and you do something, all of a sudden, that's when innovation kicks in, and you start thinking outside of the box. And you never know, what you innovate could change the game in the industry you work in too. And
right.
And then you find prosperity in a different way. So,
like you said, it's been challenging for you because you said that you don't want to be a televangelist.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible. This Sunday, I'm like, talking to the television, you out there on the internet world. I felt like a total televangelist. It was such irony. I think if any of the guys I made fun of over my life were watching, they were like, "Thank you, Lord." Anyways, yeah, it's true. But we're trying to innovate right now. We're figuring out how to get an FM transmitter or partner with an FM radio station or an AM radio station and do church in the parking lot on Easter. I think that would be super fun, like a drive-in church.
Yeah.
We'll do a live cast as well so people can watch at home. But if some people want to do a drive-in theater and drive into our parking lot, we have an Easter service and we kind of have fun with it. I think that, we need to do some stuff that breaks the mold and have fun with it. Stay in your car, let's keep our appropriate distance. You'll notice we have a good distance going right here. But we got to have fun with it, and let's innovate, and let's think out of the box, right?
Right. Have you had any hard questions come to you that you were like, gosh, how do I answer this? Because this is all a new territory. So has it been hard for you to answer some of the questions coming your way?
Yeah. Someone asked me, they asked a series of questions, is God punishing our country? Or is God punishing the world? Is God punishing me? They asked next. And I said, I don't necessarily know if God is punishing the world or our country. I think there's a consequence to disease. It just spreads. It's just kind of how biology works. And in the Bible, in Genesis 3, it talks about when the first people sinned, that evil and death and those kind of things entered the world after sin. And it's been wreaking havoc on our world ever since. That's why you have earthquakes and volcanoes and hurricanes and sicknesses and coronavirus and Ebola and things like that. And it's a consequence of the disobedience, but it's not God throwing thunderbolts at you. I honestly believe this, that it says in Psalm 23 that God walks through us through the darkest valleys. That those valleys he knows are going to happen. I mean, they happen in our life. We've been through tough times, and we'll be through tough times. But God walks with us through those things if you choose to walk with him. You can go through it on your own, or you can go through it with him. That's really, he respects you so much. That's kind of your choice in the matter. Is it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, you are with me. Your rod guides me. It protects me. Do you want God to walk with you through this, or do you want to walk on your own through it? That's ultimately the question. I think of just in history, my grandfather's generation. Some of them went through World War I, and then the prosperity of the Roaring '20s, and then they went through the Depression, and then they went through World War II. Like that, I mean, they went through a lot, but they just kept bouncing back. And I think resiliency is something that God made us to have. And it can be a great thing along the way. We just have to lean into it. So always the question, did God do this? Is God angry at us? I don't necessarily think that that's what's going on. I know there's probably pastors out there that's like, oh, God's mad at America for this or for that. That's typically, God hasn't told me that. So I'm just going to stick to what the scripture says.
We're all kind of going through this as a world. This isn't even America anymore. We're all kind of in on this.
Yeah. And there's been sicknesses and plagues and things like that have plagued humanity. And it's just part of biology. It's what happens. The thing I find about the Christian faith is that you find that it's the only faith where God enters into human suffering and suffers with us.
Right.
Jesus left all comfort to come and be human, and not just human, but like live in poverty and then die the death of a criminal. You know what I mean? There's no other religion where they would even consider God suffering. But see, Christianity says that God came to find us, and he entered into our suffering, and he entered into the broken world that we live in. Because have you looked around? It's pretty broken, right?
Right.
So Jesus is the only one that entered into our broken world to really infect it with the gospel, with his goodness, with what he's doing. And the world it's tough right now. But I do believe that God has a plan, and he's going to walk us through it, those who will walk with him through it, if that makes sense.
Well, it's funny because my growth group, we're going through the book of Revelations, and then this happens, and then we're like, is this kind of the end? Is this what's going on? I know some people have asked that. Every time something happens, they're like, oh, it's the end. It's the end. How do you feel about that?
Well, I wonder that sometimes. But I know in the Gospels, Jesus said only the Father knows when he's returning, when the end of days are, when the end of the age is. And Jesus didn't even know when it was going to be.
Wow.
So if Jesus didn't know, I don't need to speculate that much. if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, if it is, awesome. I wish he'd come back today. Because for those that know Jesus, that's a great thing.
That's what I always think.
you know what I mean? But and there's different views about the end times too. So some people believe in what's called a rapture, and that's kind of the popular view of evangelical Christianity in the last 150 years, is that Jesus is going to come, he's going to take his believers with him, and then there's going to be a tribulation and plagues and Antichrist, and if that happens, I think Bob Saget's going to be the Antichrist. I'm kidding, by the way. Don't quote me on that. But and then he's going to return and establish his kingdom, and there'll be heaven on earth and a new earth and all that. But that's not the actual historical Christian view. That's a rather new view of Christianity, of the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel. Typically, Christians over the last 2,000 years, we've all agreed on one thing. At some point, Jesus is going to come back. We don't know how it's going to unfold. We're not fully sure what all that looks like. But we just think he's going to come back, has been the traditional view. And a rapture and things like that is kind of a new view and a new interpretation of Revelation and Daniel, if that makes sense. And I'm sure there might be someone listening that disagrees, but check your history. That's pretty typical.
No, that's very good. What do you think of as a community, how we've been responding and reacting? How do you feel our reactions are as a church? How do you feel we're reacting? Do you feel like we're doing okay? Or I mean, I know you see people buying all the toilet paper off the shelf, and that's obviously not a reaction.
Yeah.
But have you been seeing some good reaction to like, oh, I'm proud of my church. I'm proud that people are doing this. Or have you seen some of that going on?
Yeah, for sure. I think So I always tell people what you're full of will come out of you when you get shaken. Right? So there are times where like anger comes out of me, and then I go, I'm full of the wrong stuff right now. Do you know what I mean? And I've got to go to God and really work on that. And I've seen that during this time. But I've also seen the very same people turn around and bless a stranger too. So what I think the initial stress has freaked people out, but what you're going to see is more and more sharing. Even the people that hoarded, right? They're like, hey, I got eggs. Hey, I got toilet. They're going to start sharing with other people now. And I've seen a lot of that even in our church. That's going on. People are sharing. Our growth groups are sharing stuff with each other, sharing with their neighbors. We're setting up a food distribution center at our Old Town campus in Old Town Clovis.
We had the big Easter plan to.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah,
we had a grand opening for our Old Town Clovis campus that has got postponed. But we're setting up a food distribution center. We're doing a respite right now. There's people in our church that are coming and doing respite for families with special needs. I want you to think about it. If you have a child with a severe handicap, how do you get to the store? If they're in a wheelchair or they're quadriplegic and you don't have anyone to watch them, and that. So we're doing a respite for some of those families, which has been really cool. And we've got some people in our church that have just said, "Hey, I'm not working. I'm home. I can watch your kids for a couple hours." And I've seen people post pictures of them with other people's kids. And that's been a really cool thing.
Is that risky or is that okay? Because I was nannying, as you know, and that job they were like, oh, we're afraid just.
Yeah, I think so. It depends. What I've found, though, is that coronavirus is not deadly for
children.
There's been no children die of it in the West, is what I have heard. So people have done that, but I think people are adults too, and we need to make adult decisions. Mm-hmm. It's great that our leaders are making decisions for us, but I also think like people are free beings and they can make those decisions. I think if you are have an immune deficiency or you're older, you should probably like really be super careful. And if you have kids and you have older people live in the house, you definitely should keep your kids quarantined as well.
Right.
I know in my house, like I have teenagers, and we don't really have access to older people. Like their grandparents live in another state. My parents are deceased, so like we're not interacting with older people like that. So like I know, if I get the coronavirus, it's gonna suck, but I'm pretty healthy. I'm gonna get through it. My wife, even with cancer, she's been done with her chemo for about 6 months now, and her immune system is rebounded. She's strong. You've seen her, those kind of things. So I think that people need to be adults. You need to be very careful. You need to keep your distance. But if someone's a first responder and their kids need to be watched, we should probably watch them.
Right, yeah.
I'll watch them. You take them. Well, you can't because you'll kill our puppies right now. But in another 2 weeks, you could, and they can come play with dogs. So anyways.
What have you thought about your response to everything? Or are any of your emotions surprising you, like you said, about anger or sadness? What's been coming out of you?
Yeah. I'll be honest. I was really bothered that the government was telling me what to do. I really was. I just have a rebellious streak in me. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, everyone, so California government is really big on separation of church and state. And suddenly you can tell us what to do. And but I know what the Bible says. And the Bible says that the leaders that are in place, God has appointed them. And I need to respect them. So even though I feel that way, I have to respect them, and I have to respect what that is. It says it in Romans 13. And when Paul wrote that, the Apostle Paul wrote that, do you know who the emperor was at the time? Nero. Nero's the guy that burned Christians alive and fed them to the lions and did all that. And Paul said, that person has been appointed there by God, and we'll respect him. And the Christians did that, and it's crazy. So I could probably put up with Governor Newsom or a president I don't like or whatever if the first century Christians were dealing with Nero. Does that make sense? Like I hear Christians, they'll complain about whether it's Trump or Obama.
Right.
And I'm like, read Romans 11 through 13 and realize the first Christians were dealing with Nero, and we could probably get over it. Our leaders aren't that bad. So that was the emotion I had, though. Like I was just more defiant, like no kind of thing. And I just preached a sermon on why we gather too. So
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a Christian, I felt very safe about everything going on. Like, if this is my time, this is my time.
Yeah.
This and that. I know my struggles, though. What came up in me, the only time I got upset was because, I lost all of my income, basically.
Yeah.
And people were trying to sell me things. And that upset me, because there were things I was looking into before all this had happened.
Yeah.
I was had saved a little money I was looking to invest. So, like vultures, everybody was on me, like, oh, you needed to get life insurance to get this, and I'm just like, I'm not looking for a handout. I'm gonna be fine. I have a savings, like I'll be fine for a couple months. But don't try to get me to now's not the time to get me to purchase something. Yeah. So that was my reaction. That was my negative reaction.
Yeah, I can see that because and everyone kind of naturally starts grabbing when there's less. Right. It's like a human instinct. I went to the store last week to get eggs. And the line was like out to the street.
Did you wait?
So I waited. I was like, I had a morbid curiosity I wanted to see. So then I get in there and I'm like watching everyone grab everything, and I'm like, well, since I'm here, I better get stuff. You know what I mean? I started buying stuff that I didn't need, and then I was like, I got out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just fell prey to the very thing I was making fun of. You know what I mean? Now I didn't hoard anything, but I was just buying things, even though, like, I know I had a gallon of milk at home, but I'm like, I better get another because I don't want to wait in this line again.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, if I can get, instead of a dozen eggs, I better, if they'll let me get 2, I'll get 2 because I don't want to wait in this line. So there's some of that too. It's not so much that we're like greedy, but like, man, it feels terrible though. So I could totally imagine there's guys, trying to sell insurance. They're like, oh God, the economy's crashing. I got to sell some more insurance. And then, but it's on your behalf.
Yeah. These were people that were friends of mine. So I was a little bit like, but that's my only reaction that was negative so far with this,
Yeah.
We'll see as time goes on. We don't know until we're shaken. Like you said, this is a little shake, but we don't know what's to come. So we might get shaken even more. So.
Yeah. And, I always just tell people, and I'm the same way, I'm not perfect, but let's try and think the best of people and forgive people, draw boundaries, right? If someone's trying to take advantage of you, draw boundaries. But, like when someone is stupid, let's forgive them.
Right, and then
because we'll probably do some stupid things during these times.
I go gravitate towards the church.
Yeah.
And gravitate towards.
Yeah.
So we have the Saturday night and the Sundays for Clovis Hills.
Yeah.
Oh, is there stuff that's going to happen during the week, like last week when there was supposed to be stuff? And do we have to log on, or is it going to come on your Facebook feed?
If you go to the Clovis Hills Facebook, we'll have stuff on Facebook Live. Our services are Saturday nights at 6 o'clock, Sundays at 9, and Sundays at 10:30. All three are live. And you can go to www.clovishills.com to watch it, or you can watch it on Facebook Live or Instagram Live. They're all on there. Just go to your social media feeds. You can watch it live. We're also during the midweek. Like I'm going to be doing a live Bible study.
Oh, great!
We're trying to figure out what the best night to do it is. Probably Thursday night. And then our youth ministries are meeting. Actually, they're doing virtual meetings, which is a lot of fun. My son's in the junior high group.
And he plays in the band.
He did. He played this Sunday in the band, which was a lot of fun. And they were doing a Zoom meeting with like 35 kids, and they were playing like trivia games and Bible trivia.
How fun!
I was watching him do it at my table. It was really fun. He was laughing and having a good old time. Our high school ministry is doing it via Facebook Live and Instagram TV and on our website on Wednesday nights as well. So we're trying to keep people connected. Because the truth of the matter is, you can be on social media and feel very isolated still. But if you can watch something live like this, and you can comment, and
fun,
and you can see it back and comment to the commenters and do things like that. We're hoping that people understand connection is what we need most right now. And maybe outside of our house connection too. People are probably really longing for that, and it gives them a bit of sanity. So that's what we're hoping to provide, connection to one another and to God. Because while you're sitting at home alone, it gets bored and you get idle and you start looking at things and thinking things and seeing things that really end up kind of corrupting your soul. It's kind of the garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
And we all fall prey to that, especially if we're stuck on a couch for 24 hours a day. So we want to provide at least something that's something healthy for your soul during the week.
And where can everybody go if they want to donate their time and do deliveries for the people that don't have the groceries, like you were saying, and take care of the kids? Where should we go for that to donate our time?
So we're developing it right now. You can go to www.clovishills.com. Or like us on Instagram, or follow us on Instagram, or like us on Facebook. And there'll be posts about that coming out, where you can drop things off at, and what kind of items we're looking forward to hand out and to bring to elderly people and kind of our most vulnerable people right now. So we're hoping to have that up by the end of the week, so that we can begin collecting and giving it out. Because everyone's hoping that this will go for a short time, but if it doesn't, we want to make sure that we take care of the most vulnerable people in our society. And that's what Jesus would want us to do. So that's what we want to do.
And if you're not a member of Clovis Hills, you can still help out, and you can still get connected and look at the website.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Shawn.
Oh, man.
I appreciate you coming.
I love coming on.
Well, we appreciate this. I mean, I already feel better already.
Oh, good.